All right, let's get after it. Random Ohio Derby version of the horse racing happy hour. Louie Rabeau, new friend of the show, Mike Rennie. How about that? And of course, not new friend of the show, been on many, many times. His name's Barry Spears. How about that? Urban handicapper, the sniper. We call him Barry around here. Mr. Barry, how are you, sir?
I'm doing
Oh,
good.
no. There we go. All
For a
right.
Thursday night,
Well,
everything's
Thursday.
nice. It's funny because the weather around the country is hotter than it is here in Florida for a change.
Oh, yeah.
So, we're kind of loving it over here on the beach.
I got the Curb Street thing going on right now. There's actually, I'm not kidding. There's a fan underneath the table in my setup outside here at my house. It is 94 degrees at 8:07 p.m. here in Louisville, man. It is. Ooh. It's blazing up, but not in 97 degree weather. Is a man named Mike Rennie. How about that little Rennie time on the horse racing happy hour? Mike, how are you, man?
Doing well, man. Appreciate you having me on. Good to join the crew. Talk some ponies, like you said. Thistledown takes center stage baby. For the change, right? They get their once a year little crack, give them a nice little handle boost for the weekend. So some competitive races dialed up there. So always a random race, the Ohio Derby, too, to me.
It is a random race. It's one of the more fun ones to try to figure out. I think an interesting field this year. We'll get to that for sure. Couple of show announcements before we really get going. Announced on Rabeau & Co. on my ESPN radio show here in Louisville this morning. Mike Gandolfo, who does this show occasionally, will be doing the Indiana Derby draw on July 1st. So if you are tuned in early afternoon on July 1st, we'll be up there at Horseshoe Indianapolis. Get out of the way, Travis Stone, with your Kentucky Derby, whatever that is. We're going to be calling the Indiana Derby. You understand me? Doing the Indiana Derby draw. You understand me, Travis Stone? Thanks for being on the Derby draw show, but we're going to do the Indiana Derby. And then, of course, we'll be up there Saturday. If you are up there, I can't stress this enough. Indiana Derby Day, no cost to get in, no cost to park. Just show up, have a great time. We'll be down in the OTB. And beforehand, they're going to set up a nice little terrace for us, a little stage. Answer any questions you have. We'll do our normal show from out there as well. I'll be on the simulcast Friday, but no one cares about that. But again, Mike Rennie hanging out with us at Rennie Time on Twitter. And of course, at Urban Handicapper, our guy, Barry Spears. So good to see both of you guys here. Appreciate it very much. Let's go ahead. Let's watch last weekend. I thought, and in one of these things that keeps popping up, guys, and I kind of want to get your opinion on this as well. Haskell preview day of all things last week. Huge crowd out at the track. Massive handle increase year over year. I think one of the challenges going forward for our sport, guys, is that we love the big events, but we're going to have to figure out a way to fill in the rest of the week, man. We love even the preview days, these win-and-in races. We really love them for years. We've had them on the quarter horse side, for example, with the trials and this kind of stuff. Fun to see more of this with the derbies and, in New Jersey, in Ohio, wherever it might be, getting a win-and-in kind of spot. But, man, how did you take in because, for you, Mike, that's an early morning. Haskell preview day. How was that?
Yeah, it was great. I'm always it's a weird thing about West Coast. There's always the argument about sports watching times. Is it better to watch sports on the West or East Coast? Horse racing, it is not a fan of the West Coast. You're up early. You got to be dialed. Everything's popping off, especially on the big days when they have the 13. And they're firing, at 7 to 8:30 in the morning out here. But it was great. The best thing about Monmouth does, they seem to always have fans. They do a great job with interaction there. Always packed. Seems like a great time. Definitely want to hit that up one time down the road. But, I'm not a fan of the actual race into it. I don't trust any of the horses. Thought it was a weirdly ran race. It was a weird race. Tucson Gold just kind of got the trip. Everyone kind of fanned out. He just kind of, ate the speed and then had something left. No one else could do anything kind of to finish it off there. So not really sold on anyone to do any damage later on, though, actually moving forward. I'm a fade of anyone out of the race.
Zach, let's go ahead. Let's play the review. The replay. Easy for me to say of that Pegasus that win and in that Tuscan Tuscan Gold. Did pick off here. You could fast forward a little bit, Zach, if you want to.
And they're off. C Streak was off.
That's too far.
Castellano.
There we go.
5 wide on the course as they round the 4th turn. Otello still at the back. Willie D's giving way. Hades is done. Tuscan Sky continues to show the way. Domestic Product right there. C Streak trying to overcome the wide trip. He's 3rd, sent along at the top of the lane. Tuscan Sky, the gray, comes off the turn, increases the leading margin to 2. Domestic Product 2nd. C Streak is 3rd with a furlong to go. Javier Castellano asking Tuscan Sky to finish, and he finishes full of run. Tuscan Sky in the Spendthrift Farm colors, romping home to win the Pegasus presented by Naira Bets.
All right, so there you go. There is Tuscan Sky coming down the stretch there. Barry, do you agree with Mike that when, by the way, my first trip ever this year, I will be at the Haskell. Very excited to go to that.
Nice.
Do you think I'll watch Tuscan Sky return to the winner's circle that Saturday?
Probably not. The horses that he ran against the other day were not really all that fast. Hades was a little bit phony, based on his first race where he beat Fierceness. I think it was the Holy Bull, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I think they got ambitious with that horse and put him in some spots where he couldn't win, including that one. I think he's a little bit lower on the class scale than those horses that he ran against. He might be able to get better towards the end of the year. That remains to be seen. But a lot of those horses were real B/C teamers.
Yeah, it seemed to be that kind of field. Look, I don't blame any trainer that puts their horse in a win and in spot, especially at the 3-year-old stage, trying to figure this out, restricted race, find out what you got. A little surprised, Mike. I expected Domestic Product to run a little bit better than that. But man, I wonder, we're starting to see the tiers of this 3-year-old class for sure. And what's interesting is even at the very top, I think it's really spread out there. A lot of different horses in a very similar sort of class level or talent level, if you want. You got a horse like Sierra Leone. Is he gonna win again? Is that a fair question? I mean, like, we're just, I'm looking back on this Triple Crown. I'm trying to figure out who's going to be that next horse going forward. Mike, you mentioned it. You don't think anybody in this race is going to be the next, a Travers winner or something like that, Pennsylvania Derby winner. Have you seen someone though, maybe off that Triple Crown series that you think will be a problem going forward?
I'm gonna stick with Sierra Leone with his class. It's for sure. He's for sure the best horse, but it's a trip horse. So it always has to deal. It always has to deal with that. No matter what, it's coming from the clouds. So that's always gonna be a play. But I can't see anyone right now. I mean, it would probably be the Japanese horse. Forever Young. Who knows how he's doing or not. We're going to see him, though. Looks like they have 2 races set up for Forever Young here in August, then back to the Breeders' Cup. So I'd probably stick with those 2 in a real suspect class. Catching Freedom, another one. I was kind of on that a little bit. But I think Dornick showed he was talked a lot going into the Derby, but once you draw the 1 hole, like I did a show and then I picked Dornock before the draw. Then after the draw, I'm off the horse. The 1 hole's illegal. With the new gates, especially if you're speed. What are you? You're literally done. So and then he came back well. So maybe Dornick still, he can get out, beat some bad horses, can't catch him. So I'm still probably Sierra Leone as the best, and then Forever Young and Dornick kind of battling it out behind.
It was fun to watch, Mike. You mentioned that the day after the Belmont, I was at Churchill for the Matt Win. It's Society Man. Danny Gargan wins both, right? He wins the Belmont, comes back, wins the grade 3 Matt Win, and they draw the 1 and the 20 for the Derby. And if they don't draw those spots, I wonder if it is a little bit different for both, right? And so maybe a blessing in disguise that neither horse went all out in the Derby that way, was able to come back, win a Belmont, win a Matt Win, back-to-back days for a guy like Danny Gargan, who, by the way, is just a fantastic interview. The guy's awesome. And so hope that he keeps winning so I can keep talking to him, or maybe he'll talk to me even if he doesn't win. I don't know, whatever. Barry, who's your horse to watch moving forward?
I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up on Fierceness yet. I think that horse is super talented. He's definitely has excuses. In all the races that he ran poorly, he definitely has excuses. It's not like there was one you couldn't explain. And I think the public has gotten into the mold that he's like an every other race kind of horse. I think that's just pure coincidental. He actually has a real lot of talent. Now that the fields are going to get smaller coming out of the Derby, it's going to probably be easier for him to dominate up front that he wasn't able to do in the Derby, where he had to go ultra fast from way outside, and it just wasn't meant to be. But I think he's a really good horse, and I'd probably throw Forever Young in there too. That horse ran a really, really, really good Derby. Unconventionally too. He's been shipping all over the place. So the horse is tough as nails.
the quarantine barn situation too with those Japanese horses currently. I mean, he's surrounded by concrete there. They can't even walk around the barn at Churchill Downs, and they were having to walk them. I can't tell you guys how far they were having to walk just to walk in the mile chute at Churchill just to get their legs stretched every day. I mean, I tossed the horses based on that. I couldn't have been more wrong. Both those horses show up top 5 in the Derby. They were awesome. And that's, man, we talked to Kaba Kate the week at Derby. She's awesome. I really hope they get that testing figured out, because I think those Japanese horses, and I know all of us have this opinion, but man, they could be a problem going forward. And that's a great thing for horse racing, just to, diversify that base, get us as many great horses as possible. As we start to dwindle a little bit in the, the size of our full crop here, man, let's include some horses from places like Japan. I'll tell you one that I'm watching is going to run this Saturday. His name is Catching Freedom. I'm interested to see if he can keep developing. If he runs away with it, if he looks like Two Phils this weekend, man, I wonder what he'll look like the rest of the summer. And look, Brad Cox, if he's healthy, he's running. That's essentially how it's going to go. So that'll be a fun one too. So I'll be watching him as well. But I do want to thank a couple people. I knew Rennie was coming on, so I worked on a little sponsor deal. So our guy at Cigar Source, our guy Jay Shepard hooked us up with a couple Esteban Carreras. This is the Devil's Ham. This thing is delicious. And so go check him out at Cigar Source on Twitter. If you're watching us on Twitter right now, we appreciate you very much. Jay Shepard Cigars at gmail.com. He'll just straight up take your order. If you're here in Louisville, you walk in, mention us, and you'll get a free cigar for sure. And then, of course, we are presented by Manscaped, of all things. Our Manscaped promos continue on. Our promo code is horse racing. If you need help below the collarbone or frankly upstairs, they've got everything for you. Promo code horse racing, all one word, 20% off, free shipping to your house. Barry's smiling because he knows that that's a really good deal. That's why. There you go. Manscaped.com. Our promo code is horse racing as well. Web Slinger won last weekend in the Chorleywood overnight at 1 3/8 at Churchill Downs. And we watch Ask It this week, and we watch all these great European runners and all this kind of stuff. But where does, I'm sure you two were watching. Barry, I'll go to you first here. Where does Web Slinger sort of fit for you on the national sort of scale? Is he a top tier or a second tier kind of turf runner?
I think he's a top tier turf runner, but he definitely needs some help. He's a dead closer. Yes. If he gets his pace, he's going to come running fast. He's very, very good. Late speed, and he's consistent. And I think that's the key.
He's become incredibly consistent. Yes.
He does the same thing every time. You can expect that out of that horse. He's definitely overbet sometimes. I know one of the few times I got the good price on him was in Derby undercard last year.
Yep, American Turf. Yep.
He basically made my pick 4 there with Mage, and so I mean it's going to be tough because I think people are onto him. They know he's a really good horse. You gotta have to pick your spots with him though, because he definitely needs the right trip.
How are you handicapping the turf at Churchill Downs right now, Mike? Are you treating it like a normal turf course or kind of an in between?
Seems as fair as I can just go. I try.
It's actually
my
paid
best,
fair. Yeah.
I try my best to assume it's gonna be fair going into it. At Churchill Dirt, on the other hand, I'm maybe not have that same attitude. You go there have a little bit of speed for me, but I think it's been fair this season. I think it's coming in its own. Obviously, it had its issues. They'll be fine. They got plenty of people involved, it looks like. So I think it's playing fair, though. So I think anyone will have a chance. American turf racing in general, suspect, as we all know. It went through that phase of almost like no one was running on turf. When the year Fairgrounds didn't have turf, Gulfstream and Churchill had issues that year. So I could imagine if you're just a turf, American turf type trainer, the makers, the Danners, all these people are just more turf forward type folk, kind of coming back to their own. I always watch Michael Maker. I think watch out for some Michael Maker horses going forward too. He's going to always play in a big spot, especially maybe second off a claim. He's very good at placement. So I'm excited to see some of the turf racing coming back, I think, with the Asmussen Corbon, blanking name. I know I butchered the 8's name that destroyed the field with the record. Cogburn, excuse me.
There you go.
Cogburn's the best horse I've seen on turf.
The beast.
Since
He's a beast. That horse is a beast. So, I was there. That horse is a beast.
Right?
Yeah.
So good beast, to see that.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can get some good turf horses coming out of here for us.
Yeah, I think especially in the turf sprint division, right, where our horses are used to taking that left turn, right? I mean, it's a silly thing to say, but if you're not going straight line 5.5 furlongs, it is a different animal that way. I wanted to ask Barry because he and I have a fundamental horse racing disagreement. You're watching these Ascot races. If you see a straight line 8 furlong race, is that the same to you as the 2-turn 8 furlong turf course at Gulfstream Park?
To me, yes.
There it is.
The distance is the same.
He's nothing if not consistent. His name is Barry Spears.
The distance is the same. I give this argument probably once a year, once or twice a year on Twitter or X, where somebody's like, "Oh, you know, it's 7.5 furlongs, but it's around 2 turns, so it's a route race." And I was like, "No, it's the distance. Anything under a mile, is technically a sprint. You know, it's just like, would you call 6 furlongs at Charlestown a route race? No, you wouldn't. But they have 2.5 turns, right?"
You hear that, Matthew DeSantis? Those are not route races at Assiniboia Downs. You understand?
Yeah, actually, he's one of the ones.
They are
he's
not.
one of the ones.
How about that? Deal with it.
Take it. Take that, sir.
Failed to menace, please. I'll tell you who's failing to menace. How about that? Yeah, but no, Webslinger, man, that turned into a weird single. Like all of a sudden, at Churchill, especially, he loves the turf course there. And it's a weird thing, Mike. The reason I asked you about it is because here we've had to go from handicapping the same turf course my entire handicapping career. They chopped the thing up. It's 3 different courses over the last 4 seasons.
Crazy.
And so just trying to figure out who's going to be good on the new course, and at least, you know, once in a while you get a horse like a web slinger, just helps your ticket. I know you're not going to get paid as much, but at least you know what you're getting. And so he thinks about that. Our guy Steve is listening, and he said, "Man, I was just thinking the same thing about Charlestown." No, for sure, that's right. Yeah.
You know, I always was under the impression, and this is just my opinion, that the turf course at Churchill was always better in the fall than it was in the summer. It's just so much better, more lush. It was firmer. It just seemed like a nice bouncy course in the fall.
The big recipients around here, by the way, are obviously Keeneland, but they run a shorter meet. I mean, they just do. It's less race days and all that kind of stuff. And then if you're willing to have a turf course around here, so, you know, I talked about Indiana and the Indiana Derby. People flood up there, man, because you're still running allowances for low 40s, right? There's still money up there. You can run a claimer up there if you need to, that kind of stuff. But they had 4 carded for the turf course today. They had a sprinkler issue, so they took them off for the sprint just to make sure no one was slipping going too faster on that first turn. It's interesting to watch the dynamic of turf racing, especially in this region of the country, because New York, they're fine. Florida, they have. It is stunning to me how quickly, Mike, they turned around that turf course you mentioned at Gulfstream Park. Like 4 months, they were like, "Hey, we're good."
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. I saw it too. I was watching it happen when it beat Bill. You're like, "That's not going to be ready, man."
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then of course, you know, Barry's at Tampa a lot. Man, they've got one of the best turf, if not the best turf course in America. Right? So it's fantastic. And yeah, the Hillsborough there every year is an awesome race, and so those kinds of things. So, but I'm with you, man. Hopefully we get hopefully like a Cogburn can keep it going, and we see him in the Breeders' Cup when we're out in San Diego doing that kind of stuff. So that'll be fun to watch going forward as well. I don't know if you guys got to see the race, but our pretty woman won the Monomoy Girl, rebounds out of the Oaks. Man, Barry, speaking of distance, I think a mile and a 16th as far as she wants to go. And that was the rare time where I watched Louie Saez really outduel Tyler Gaffaliota at Churchill Downs, but here we are. So any takeaways from that race? Is it literally just Torpedo Anna and a bunch of horses?
Yeah. At this
right
point,
now
yes. Right? Yeah. I can't see any of the horses that she's beaten pretty handily a couple of times, reversing the tables just because her running style. She's so effective up front. I mean, she can go as fast as she wants to go, and she's very push button and, you know, right temperament. She's cool and calm and just lets it fly, man.
We love Idiomatic on this show, Mike. She actually got my Eclipse Award for Horse of the Year last year. I think anytime a horse runs 9 times, wins 8 of them, switches surfaces, does the damn thing in grade 1s and all kinds of stuff, they're worthy of a vote. Do you think a horse like Torpedo Anna could push her when we get to that distaff?
I really do. I think Mr. McPete did that interview, and he was dead serious about running her in the Belmont. He thought, he was dead. And the way she won on that week, you know, she's she's that, would she do would she beat the boys? No, probably not. But she'd probably show up. But maybe she didn't think, he must have not thought she'd hit the board. I feel like if he thought she'd run top 3 in the Belmont, he would have did it. That's just he crossed his mind. So yeah, I think he's pretty good about how he talks about his horses. Sometimes he does a little over spot them. He gets a little aggressive sometimes, but you gotta like that in a trainer.
I agree.
But yeah, I think it could. I think she could, and I'm excited for it because I don't think anyone was in a touchy Idiomatic before I saw Torpedia. And again, actually, how talented Idiomatic is. It's just when you get
she's
pretty awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. It's great to have horses that you're going to see every 4 or 5 weeks, pretty much no matter what. She's definitely in that mold, which for fillies especially is awesome because on this show we have a mantra: fall in love with the fillies because they're going to run longer. And Idiomatic's one of those horses that's just so easy. She's awesome. She's just so fun to watch run, so easy to fall in love with. But Torpedo Anna, Mike, I'll push back a little bit on this only because I think for Kenny McPeak in this case, I think what he wants is he knows. Remember, New York sets up their own thing for fillies all summer. So the next stop is the CCA Oaks, right? So she can run that at 1 1/8 miles. But then she's going to have to run in the Alabama. And I wonder if he was looking long-term over this summer and thinking, you know what? She can win a grade 1 here, softer spot. Frankly, he's not worried about her breeding rights. She's a $5,000 breeding job. So I don't think he's worried about that. I think in this case, man, I think he was plotting out an entire summer of her in that Oaks, in that Alabama, those kinds of races, and then eventually out west for the Breeders' Cup. But I agree with both of you. I think she's heads and tails the best in that division. Is she the best 3-year-old in training right now, Mike?
And overall, no. I'm gonna still go with Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone's the best horse to me. Like on paper, best number. That was the Derby was a little Derby's a Derby. It's a tough.
Yeah, right.
He almost got it. I think some big stuff could come from Sierra Leone. So I'm going to still stick with Sierra Leone as the best 3-year-old in training right now. And I'm still Forever. Like you guys brought up how traveled Forever Young is. I'm going to go with the Forever Young as second. Kind of thinking back, and then I'll go Torpedo Anna as the third in trading. I'm excited. I like you said, our breeding comp. So hopefully Japan does a bunch of horses. We can even take some of their bummy horses and run them in our races, whatever. You know what I mean? Just keep the horses flowing. We just need horse population rolling. You know what I mean? So I think Forever Young could be for some big things late in the summer. For them to just already have it set up that they're running in August and then the Breeders' Cup to come when they know what's up. So it obviously came out fine. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Torpedo Anna third in 3-year-old training for me right now.
How about you for you, Barry?
I'd say Torpedo Anna is number 1, and I'd say Forever Young is probably second.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, man, I'm excited about that Japanese crop in the fall, dude. I think it's gonna be fun. Plus, we're gonna get some.
Well, that other horse, I forget the name of that other horse that ran in the Derby, but that horse ran actually a better race than most of the Derby horses. Got in a lot of trouble, got wiped out, and came running hard late. The jocks dropped a stick mid-stretch.
Yeah, right.
And it was a brutal trip, and he ran great.
Got fifth, right? The one that got fifth place, right?
Yeah, they both ran top 5, which made me look like a complete dope for sure, which is totally fine. I'm fine with being a dope about the Derby. Who cares? I mean, good luck picking that thing. But I'm trying to pull up the name of that horse, and it was, according to the good folks at Equibase, T.O. Password.
T.O. Password.
There you go. Which, by the way, I got to give him credit. Gandolfo, my co-host on this show, fell in love with T.O. Password. That was his backside. Watch that horse work out during the week, and he was like, dude, he's going to run a big race. And I'm like, no, he's not. And then he did. So there you go. So there you go, man. Oh, man. I fell in love with Resilience Derby week. That happened to me. So there you go.
Resilience ran great, too, on Derby Day.
I know. He was really, really good. Yeah.
It's really wide.
Yeah. I'm wondering if he will, if that's a horse that we won't see get better at Saratoga. It sounded like Mott didn't want to run him in the Belmont. So I'm wondering if Resilience is one of those horses we'll see second half of the year that's a little bit better as well. Again, Barry Spears, Mike Rennie hanging out with me here on the Horse Racing Happy Hour. I'm Louie Rabeau. Thanks for making us part of your Thursday night, getting you ready for, of all things, the Ohio Derby. We will go to Churchill Downs as well. They are running the Chicago Stakes this weekend for those fillies going 6 furlongs over there as well. We'll talk about that one as well. But let's get into the handicapping here. Of course, we will have the Gold Book, goldbookbets.com, another freebie this weekend. So make sure you're over there for our plays, both up there in Cleveland and here in Louisville, to get you ready for that. We head to it. It is time, folks. Time for Thistledown. By the way, I talked to Bob Roberts today. I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about this stuff. The man's been covering horse racing. He graduated high school in like 1964 or something. He's been covering horse racing forever in Ohio. He's just one of those guys. And I have him on every year. And every year I think I should have this guy on way more often because he's awesome. And so it just sounds like horse racing. But if you want that, that'll be up on the podcast center of this show as well. Everything I do horse racing wise on Rabeau & Co. I make sure I throw on the Horse Racing Happy Hour platform so that you can easily access that without having to find me on the radio. The Daniel Stearns Cleveland Gold Cup is the first race here, race 9. On the card there at Thistledown that we are going to talk about tonight. 75K, this is an Ohio-bred 3-year-old race. This is essentially the Ohio Derby for Ohio breds. I need to warn people ahead of time because I had a theory going into this weekend that got completely debunked by this set of past performances. I used to think that it was New York that had the most coupled entries of any circuit in the country. No. Hey, New York, bleep off. You're not even close. Deal with it. We're talking coupled entries. And so I want to talk betting strategy too, guys, with this. I mean, because this is going to play with the pick 5s and the pick 4s and that kind of stuff. By the way, 15% takeout on the pick 4s and the pick 5s. So the pick 4s just as playable as the pick 5s at Thistle, which is awesome. And so we have a 4-way coupled entry in the first race. Barry, I'll go to you first. Who did you land on here? And make sure if you pick one of the ones, you tell us which one of the ones you picked.
Actually, I thought 1Y.
Okay.
Spellcast. I know it's just
he said 1Y. And it's not your fault. I know it's crazy.
The 1Y.
Never seen it. I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either.
I've never seen a 1Y. I just looked at a lot of PPS.
I've never seen it either. I've seen 1X. 1X.
I've seen the 1X.
Yeah.
I've seen 1X.
They even had, I think Lucas had a 3-horse entry in the Breeders' Cup one year. But that horse looks to be really good on the way up. Stretched out last time on the turf. Gets Rocco Bowen again. Kind of the class of the races, run really the fastest races out of anybody in this field. So I think that one has a huge advantage. If I was going to throw a long shot in there, I'd throw the 6 in, Blue No More. It's kind of a wild card. Another one kind of stretching out for the second time.
Yeah, one going a mile up there at Mahoning Valley to break its maiden, ran back in a 6 furlong and just ran out of time after that at Thistledown. All these horses, by the way, you'll notice in Ohio especially, they make the rounds, and if it's a turf race, they just run on the turf. If it's a dirt race, they just run on the dirt, which I love. Just run your horses, please. Just give me as many of these guys as I possibly can, and so I'll try to figure it out after that. Mike, where'd you land in this one?
I was like, do I try to just toss the ones, this, Mr. Cute type thing, but I'd probably do 2 different tickets, on playing this exotic. So you're just going to single the one because you get 4 horses on one of them. Yep. And then you just toss the one on another one. So I'm just going to not talk about the ones. And the horse that I thought could maybe get, if it maybe, it's the Ohio horses, I got Gunner Gabrielle, the 5. Could get a little,
nice.
I think it could sit the trip. The ones are going to be, I'm sure the trainer's going to have some strategy for the ones. So I think he could just sit, let them do their thing, and maybe have one run coming home, doesn't need the lead, can sit right off it. And then Dial Direct, the 4 will be this, maybe I'm curious on the odds of the 4. It's 2 to 1, you got a horse that's 2 to 1 going against 4 horses at 6 to 5. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So the 4 is probably the better horse, but I think it's not setting up for it. So I'm going to go 1, all ones to start a ticket, and then run another one with 4 or 5 to start a ticket there to get out of the gate. So I'll play a couple tickets. Like I said, I've never seen the one, it's just what so many horses in one spot.
Yeah.
You don't want to overdeck it and just almost take a free square so it's a low takeout. You know what I mean? So
yes, right.
And not wasting.
Yeah, essentially you're playing a pick 4 at that point. That's right. Yeah, and so the other part though too, I'm actually really interested in this 4, Mike, for what you just talked about. If this one catches so much money in the win pool that it's like 1 to 9 or whatever, this group of horses, I don't think you're going to get 2 to 1 on the 4. I think you're going to get more like 7 to 2. something like that, right? Where you're actually going to get more value because people are going to be betting into 4 horses, essentially, not to make him the 5th pick or something like that, but frankly, make him certainly not the 2nd pick. And so I think you might get some value in that horse. Like you mentioned, won last time going the 2 turns in a non-3 lifer, allowance at Thistledown. So this horse, by the way, 2 for 3 at Thistledown with 1 second place. That was the first time this horse ever ran. That was in a maiden special, lost by less than a length. So we're talking about a horse that's always been competitive at Thistledown. I really think the 4 here, if you're talking straight up just a win kind of bet, man, that might be the play here in what was that horse's name? Dial Direct. So there you go. A little Ohio bred talk. How about that? Let's go. Little 1Y. Why not? How about that? Let's go on to the 1Y. What planet is this? Let's go on to the next race. It is the Dr. T.F. Klassen Memorial. This is the sprint here. This is for fillies and mares 3 and up. Going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Another $75,000 race here up there at Thistledown. Mike, we'll go to you first for this one, buddy. Where'd you land?
I thought I'm gonna do my long shot play, the 2 in Troubled Waters, coming from the clouds. I think it's gonna sit a different trip and just try to close late once again with the coupled entry. I think one of those 2 couples are going, and then there should be another speed in the horse. I think it was what I have the 7. I think will go. So can set up for here the 2 in Troubled Waters for my prize play. In my exotics, I'm going 1-2 though. So I'll have a chalk. The ones are going to go off as the favorites again. You got to deal with a couple of them. They look tough in this spot, to be honest. But I'm going to try to beat them because I feel like the first leg could be the 1-9 might win. So I'm hoping here maybe get some value. The 2's that with me in Troubled Waters coming from the clouds late, hopefully.
When you handicap these state bred type races, Barry, for example, how much do you take into account, say, a Ramon Vasquez showing up or a Louie Sias showing up? Does that move your handicapping very much?
It definitely can, because obviously those guys are probably going to be getting on the better horses, but that isn't foolproof. I mean, there's some good trainers out there, especially that aim for these kind of days, the state bred days. And they steal some races from the bigger connections,
right? And
it's worth your while to take a shot every once in a while, because that's when you're going to get prices. Because people see Brad Cox come in the Thistle Downs and they're going to bet him down to 1-5,
right?
And you beat that horse in any kind of multi-race bet or even vertically.
Yeah, right.
You're going to get paid. So that's kind of the stuff you want to look for.
Anybody stand out here in the Klassen Memorial?
No standouts. I think, in order for this pick 5 to pay anything or be worth your while, you had to beat one of these first 2 entries.
Yep.
And I think this one in the second race of the sequence, the 10th, it may be a little bit vulnerable. I'm with Rennie on the 2 here in Troubled Waters. I think that horse, runs very, very well in this kind of company. Every time he goes into state breds, he runs a really tough race, and, had some tough luck back, early on in the year. So that one has a good shot. And I'm going to throw in the 8, I'm a Mom, and the 9, Salute the Kid. I think both of those horses are actually can outrun their odds. Speed figure wise, at least on the buyer scale, it looks a little shaky. But in particular, I'm a Mom has run some races that are really competitive at this level. Back last year, this horse was kind of getting going this year, and I think this was kind of the goal for this horse to be in a race like this.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Definitely a class test, but these aren't the fastest horses in the world.
I think another one where if you look at the speed figures, you would toss immediately is the 4 Dolce Marie here out of the Urieta barn. A woman in Johanna Urieta who trains a ton of horses in Ohio. You would see a 40 speed figure and think, oh my God, whatever. You go back and watch that race. This horse didn't need to do a lot of work. And if you watch the times there, it sets up, this horse ran a sub-minute on the 5 furlongs, right? So this is a reasonable pace, 59-4. She sets the pace, and then she's up by 5-6 lengths. You can just kind of let it go. And that 113 it lowers that buyer number. But for me, that's a horse 6-1, man. Give me all of that all day. Horse that seems to like the track, has those local connections. And so I think Dolce Marie here you talk about trying to get a price in this sequence. That might be the one for me under Villa Gomez as well. A lot of that one feels like the spreadier race of this sequence for sure. We move on to the 11th. It is the George Lewis Memorial, mile and a 16th for 3-year-olds and up. This is the Ohio-bred older horse race going 2 turns on the dirt there at Thistledown, 75K in the kitty. Barry, we'll go to you for this one on the first.
Yeah, this is a really interesting race. I think this is another one where you could kind of get a price. I'm not really too keen on the one horse excitement. Not only because this would set up for an all one pick 5, but I think that horse is vulnerable. There's some other speeds in here, and some horses that are going to be close up to give that one a tough time. And the horse I would actually want to put on top in a race like this is the 8 Romantic Cowboy. At 15-1, I know people are going to be like, what do you see in this horse? Well, sure. He won this race last year.
Yes.
Not off of this kind of a layup. He had one race in between. But the race kind of sets up for him again. I mean, he may not need the lead in order to win this race, but he's going to be close up. And I don't think the pace is going to be super, super hot, but just enough to bother the other ones would be enough, because I don't think the one excitement, the one that's going to be probably on the pace, wants to go this far. He kind of quits, and especially on the dirt. And I don't think that horse really wants to go this far. And not that many of them do. There's only a few horses here that have won at this distance. The 2 being one of them. I would throw that horse on my ticket. And the 7, That's the Way, is another one that's going to be forwardly placed.
How about you, Mike? Do you land on anybody in the Lewis Memorial here?
Yeah, the last horse Barry said it's gonna be my single for a ticket I'll do with my price single. And I'm singling the 7, Mr. Radovich. He wins. He's that type of level of a trainer. He's, I think, kind of maybe up there more often, Mahoney Valley type. Yep. So I know he'll be ready. The jockey also is one of the top better jockeys for the Thistle, also too. And like Barry said, the horse should be forward, but I think it's Sit the Trip, has 9 starts this year, 3 wins, 3 seconds. And this is like the trainer goes for the big stakes for the Ohio bred type guy. So I expect this horse to be loaded, and I'm gonna probably take probably one of my better stands. I wouldn't be shocked if this horse goes down to 4-1. Though is what I'm worried about. I don't think I'm the only one seeing this, so I'm curious on the odds of this horse. But yeah, I'm gonna really take a stand here with the 7. That's probably been the one out of the whole Ohio bred sequence of all of them I like the most here. Think can get busy.
By the way, shout out to that horse who will never understand what I'm about to say. 10th run already, and we're in June. Let's go. I love it. Let's go.
Okay,
give me these kinds of horses.
You run them. They don't mess around up there.
That's right.
I tell you what, if there's 3 1s after this leg, if it comes 1-1-1 in the pick 5, you can forget about it. You probably owe the track money. You should owe the track money for playing that.
The state of Ohio.
If you
send you a collection letter.
I couldn't even put that ticket together, I'm gonna toss one of the ones,
Unless you're playing it for like $5,000.
I was gonna say, if you play it, you're gonna have to change the denomination on that one. That's exactly right. The Lady Jacqueline, by the way, you want to hear the dumbass question I asked today? So I had Bob Roberts on the show, and I'm like, "Who was Lady Jacqueline?" And he goes, "Dude, the name of the casino is Jack Casino, so they just named it the Lady Jacqueline." And I was like, "Wow." I'm a dumbass. How about that? This guy right here. Dumbass questions like, why did they name it the Lady Jacqueline? I thought this is a cool race, though. They've only been running it. I think this is the 8th rendition. But when you put $250,000 up and the horses are not ready for, say, the Fleur de Lis at Churchill Downs in a couple of weeks, this ends up being a good spot. I think eventually this will be the 2nd graded stakes in the state of Ohio. I think this race, because of who they're drawing, you get a Misty Vale in here. You get horses that if you follow horse racing, you do know. One that's on the rise, by the way, as a 4-year-old, Musical Mischief. We were just out there. She ran well in that Allaire DuPont on Preakness Day out there. On Black Eyed Susan Day at Pimlico. Corningstone is in here for Kenny McPeep, coming off a win over a mile and an 1/8 at Churchill Downs. I'm going to lean on Corningstone here, guys. The Brian Hernandez, Kenny McPeep thing. Just a really, really consistent filly. Daughter of Cantharos. I really think that she's going to be the class here. I like her coming out of the win last time out. Second off the layoff here is a really nice angle too for Kenny McPeak. I think this is where we start to see a little bit of that class rise out of the obviously we're out of the Ohio bred races at this point. I think she'll be the one that I'll lean on here. Mike, who are you going to lean on here in the Lady Jacqueline?
I'm right with you. I feel like, Mr. McPete's pulling all the right moves right now. His horse he'll be ready. Like you said, big purse, big day. McPete right now is kind of where he's at. Like some guys just get hot at the right time. The trainers have all their horses hitting at the right note. So yeah, I feel like Corningstone's going to be tough. But I'll throw in Frosty O'Toole here. Rocco Bowen, he's a good local jockey. He actually won the jockey title a couple times at Portland Meadows at one time here. Shout out to my guy.
Shout out.
Yeah, so Rocco should be live, but the class will be tough to me to beat the 5 or the 7 this race. So it's what sucks. But you never know. These girls are suspects, so why not throw in Yankee Dollar though for a price too? Watch that 9 there. Does it feel like that trainer has had some interesting horses in his past, so you got to be careful. I wouldn't leave out the 9 just because of who knows what's cooking in the kitchen.
Well, that's not an accidental ship from Turf Paradise, right? I mean, like what are we doing, right? I mean, that's a daughter of California Chrome, by the way. Maybe trying to get her in one of these stakes. 2 for 3 this year, hasn't missed the board. Ran 13 times last year, hit the board 9 times. So maybe just a horse to include in those exactas, trifectas, whatever you might be playing here. Barry, who'd you land on in the dumbassery that is the Lady Jacqueline? Dumbassery.
Yeah, I didn't see too many surprises here. I thought the race kind of goes through the 5, Musical Mischief, Misty Vale, and Corningstone. If I had to single one of them, I'd definitely take Misty Vale. I think that horse is sitting on a big race. Consistently better than all of these, actually. Corningstone probably has to run a little bit faster, which she probably can in a race like this. She's probably going to be out there kind of freewheeling. So, but I still think Misty Vale's the goods.
Do you have a longer shot you're going to include in any kind of wager there? I think the one that we're not hearing is about Safi Joseph's enter here, Batacuda, who's going to come out of the 1 hole here. Hasn't gone 2 turns in a while, Barry, even though that doesn't matter. But no one laughed. Really? We're not doing that? Okay. Right.
I did a little joke.
In your face, Matthew DeSantis. Eat it. How about that? Why don't you menace a little, huh? How about that? Let's do some menacing. But no, I think Batacuda, if somebody's going to hit the board here, Louie Saez is going to give that horse, the best possible trip, I'm sure. And so she's an interesting one to me. But the star of the show will be the $500,000 Grade 3 Ohio Derby. Same course, going a mile and an eighth. But this, of course, is for the 3-year-olds. I got to say, we're really lucky on this show. We get to do a series called The Road to the Preakness. So we get to follow the horses as they go through that Maryland path to the Preakness. On top of course, like everybody, we follow the Kentucky Derby path as well. So we get to see Copper Tax in here, Mugatu's in here, Uncle Heavy's in here, a bunch of horses that I got to watch kind of grow up as 2- and 3-year-olds here. But man, we get Catching Freedom, really good finish, 4th in the Derby, 3rd in the Preakness. Frankly, is probably 2 steps from finishing 2nd in the Preakness. Interesting spot for Brad Cox to bring this horse back here, but when you've got this many good horses, you got to put him somewhere with that grade next to the race. He reminds me a little bit, and gosh, now I'm trying to remember who won the Indiana Derby last year. Was one of his sort of second level. Nope, that was 2 years ago. I think Tawny Port won the Ohio Derby 2 years ago, actually.
Yes.
And then I'm trying to think of who it was, but I'll look it up while you guys are talking. But kind of a second level, get this horse a graded stakes before he heads off to the breeding shed someday. Mike, Catching Freedom needs a pace to run at. I think he's very lucky that Batten Down got put into this race with Junior Alvarado and Bill Mott, because I think that horse, they figured out with him, he doesn't want to pass horses. He just wants to be out front. Mike, who did you land on in the $500,000 Grade 3 Ohio Derby?
Yeah, I found 2 and I got a price and then Catching Freedom. Look, Catching Freedom is a very talented horse, and especially in this spot. I mean, he's ran against everyone. Any 3-year-old that's made a run or was supposed to be good, ran through all the fairgrounds, or everyone that came through. He's seen a bit of everybody, so he should be ready. Brad Cox will have him dialed, I assume. But you always wonder, it's Ohio Derby, so it's not top tier for Mr. Cox, but like you said, does he get him a win? Get that feeling. These trainers, you got to get a horse's confidence back. You know what I mean? Right. It's a big thing about it. So this could be the perfect spot for him. So I have Catching Freedom. It'll be tough to beat, but for something underneath, I like the 6th Deposition here. Say Utah's trained horse. This horse has been very competitive all year. Just going up in class right here. But, you never know. Could he have that surprise race in him? For sure, underneath for me. Will 100% have for second place in lower exotics. But, yeah, Catching Freedom is definitely the class. He's faced everyone. And like we said, the crop of these 3-year-olds, I mean, he should have no issue if he gets the setup in this race. Especially if there's a hot pace early, I'd be shocked if Catching Freedom didn't roll him up.
Catching Freedom, the lost horse in the Kentucky Derby, lost by less than 2 lengths. He just happened to be right outside of that photo finish. Pretty wild one. It was verifying last year, by the way, that won the Indiana Derby, and he wanted to go no further than a mile and a 60. That was it. He got to the line, and he was like, I'm done racing. We're done here. That's enough. So I'm wondering, Catching Freedom, almost certainly a more talented horse than verifying last year. Barry, something I appreciate about you, I should say, is you do try to find the price. But when a horse is a horse and is the best on the course, you are willing to say it. Is Catching Freedom the best horse here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Catching Freedom is the best horse.
Are you picking him to win this race, however?
Conventional wisdom would tell you that a horse like that, kind of dropping into this company would be a standout. But we are not conventional and certainly not wise. And I don't think that this race sets up very well for Catching Freedom. I mean, sure, he definitely runs well late in races, but it might be too late once again. I think Batten Down is going to be setting the pace, but I don't think the pace is going to be all that fast. There's really not much speed in here. And I'm going to basically use the other horse that I think is going to be fourthly placed in Gould's Gold.
Yep.
I think both of those horses will get great trips with their running styles and be tough to fend off Catching Freedom late.
It's really interesting. McPeak started Gould's Gold, going 7 furlongs, tried the turf at Keeneland, gave him a bunch of time off, runs it back this year in March for the first time, wins immediately at Oaklawn Park in a sprint, brings it back at a mile and an eighth, and it seems like a little bit too much. Runs him in the Sir Barton. We saw him on that's essentially the
heartbreaker. Lost a heartbreaker.
Definitely should have won that race. That's exactly right. And I wonder if we're not looking at 6-1 if he wins that race, right? If we're looking at more like a 4-1 kind of number on Gould's Gold. And if he's one of these horses, Barry, that you mentioned, where maybe he's getting better as a 3-year-old, we forget these horses are so young. They're still developing. They're still trying to figure this stuff out. These derbies, especially these midsummer derbies. I think Gould's Gold is absolutely right there. That's what we need. We need another Lady Jacqueline Ohio Derby double for McPeak and Brian Hernandez Jr. That's what we need here.
Interesting.
Actually, you know what? For prices, that'd be okay with me. How about that? So, but I think a really interesting play in Gould's Gold. Man, I am fascinated with Batten Down, though, because of what you guys have talked about. I think in the pace scenario here, that's a horse that's going to get to do what he wants. And if Junior Alvarado can figure out that trip and keep him, essentially not going, too fast on the splits, high 23s to start, maybe get him around 48 for the half, I don't think he's going to be pressed on that stuff. And so I think he's going to be able to get the trip that he wants. I'm with both of you. Catching Freedom, very clearly the most talented horse in here, Son of Constitution. But man, those 3, Gould's Gold, of course, Catching Freedom, and then Batten Down. The one to watch that I've seen before, and he's just a freaking gamer, is Copper Tax. Won the private terms over that mile and a 16th at Laurel in the slop, comes back in way better conditions in the Federico Tessio, which is the winning in for the Preakness. We're talking about the Ohio Derby. We're not talking about, a Breeders' Cup race or something like that. Copper Tax, man, I don't know. I don't know if he wins this race, but I think he's going to be a problem on Saturday, and I'll be interested to see what they try to do with him, because he's another horse, man. He doesn't start well. And so I'm wondering, can he get out of the gate well enough to not be, because if he's behind, for example, if he's behind Catching Freedom, forget about it, right? We're done here. But if he can, I don't know, if he can somehow stay within 4 or 5 lengths, something like that, I think Copper Tax is going to be part of the equation in that race as well. Mike, I wanted to pick your brain because you've mentioned it a couple times about, look, coupled entries are really, I mean, they're muddying up the multi races here. They're muddying up a lot of this stuff. I wish tracks could figure out, or maybe it's a racing commission thing. I'm not actually sure in Ohio. With a stakes, man, don't couple these entries. I mean, if an owner's willing to put up 4 horses and pay the entry and do that stuff, let them do their own thing. By the way, Steve texted in on the show. He's got Gould's Gold, Catching Freedom, and Batten Down Try Box. Book it. I like it. There you go.
Okay.
All right, Steve, you don't have to agree with me. It's all right. You can come up with your own opinions. I'm just kidding. Steve's my guy. So no, but the pick 5. Let's just talk about the pick 5. All stakes pick 5 here. It is a fun sequence of races for sure. Will you play one where you play like a $3 kind of pick 5 or a $5 kind of pick 5 that includes those coupled entries, and then maybe just a Catching Freedom as a single or something like that at the end? Or are you going to try to mix it up with a larger ticket?
You got to think, the thing about a parlay, anytime you do it and whatever kind of odds, you can kind of, by doing the ticket, what the payout will be at the end. If I include a bunch of payouts, for people that you see the people online like, oh, this pick 5 paid this, and you hit it. Well, you put every favorite in the race. So yeah, it's gonna, and they all hit. So that's what the payout is. So you got to just view it like that. These type of days, sometimes that chalk runs hard in Ohio. These horses, they just, they bring the good ones out of nowhere all of a sudden, and and then you're dealing with the coupled entry. So it almost ruins if they all hit. I mean, it's early on too. You know what I mean? So you'll know right away if 2 of the 3 races and those ones win. It's pretty much going to be screwed. So I would do one like I was kind of saying early on. I'd do multiple tickets where you're just going to do a cheaper one without the ones. Just don't even include any of the ones, and go for it at like whatever the base is, 50-cent, dollar, whatever you're comfortable with. And then I do the opposite and just hammer a chalk one. And then have maybe one race there. I think we thought leg 2. And I'd go race 10 and 12 as my upset races. So maybe spread in 10 and 12, then eat the chalk, single Catching Freedom, single the one the first race, go deep there, maybe and then I'm personally single in the 7 though in the third leg. But if you want to do another coupled entry, you have a 1 there too. If you not want to do it, so I'd do a hammer with the coupled entries and Catching Freedom, single Catching Freedom. And then no favorites in the other 2 legs. Then I do a cheap base ticket with none of the coupled entries, and then just have multiple options, and hopefully you have a little sweat at the end.
Barry, you strike me as a guy who likes to play a little more race to race rather than a longer kind of ticket. We've never had this kind of conversation because we've never had this many coupled entries. I'll be really clear. Barry's been on the show a half dozen times or something. Never had this kind of crap. And so how are you going to approach this? Because I'm starting to come around to the idea that I might have to get pretty creative with single race kind of tickets.
Yeah, you might have to. I kind of came up with like $100 play for the sequence. So the pick 5 that I came up with was $36. I singled the one in the first leg.
Yep.
And used all the key horses in the other legs. And there's no singles after that, but there's not many horses. But then if that bites the dust, I would lean in on my opinion of Misty Vale. I think that horse is the goods and play through that race. Pick 3s, doubles, the whole 9, just to lean on that opinion with the rest of the 100 left.
Yeah, it's almost like like I joked earlier. It's almost playing the pick 5. You're really playing a pick 4 then, right? That kind of stuff. And a couple weeks ago, we tried to hit the pick 6 at Churchill. I'd like 2 singles. Really, you just played a 20-cent pick 4 then, right? I mean, that kind of stuff. So it can work out in your favor that way. Which race, gentlemen, do you think on this card is the most likely to have an upset? And I mean like an actual upset.
10 to me.
Up?
Race
Mike,
10.
what's that?
Race 10. I'm sick. I think the 2's live, 12-1. And I think there was one, is that the one with the 9 that's like 15-1 Barry might have mentioned?
Yeah, Salute the Kid. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that one of those races, I feel like something weird will happen, and that looks to me like the best shot. You have first of all, you have the more horses. It's one of the bigger fields of all the races, also. But sometimes the short fields, big odds too. That old thing. But I think race 10 to me, best opportunity to generate a little something.
I also think in these sprints you can make you can make mistakes as a jock and it doesn't bite you as hard as, say, a 1 1/8 kind of race. Like if you start poorly or you make your move too early in a route race, you might get stuck. Barry, do you agree it's race 10?
No, I think it's race 11. I really don't like that one entry, and there's 3 of them, I believe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't like
only
any of those
3
horses.
coupled entries there. Yeah.
I know. I think that one's probably
you
gonna
said
get
one Y on this podcast. Think about that. You said
that
one
was amazing.
Y.
1Y. The old 1Y 6 exacta.
Oh man, we are trailblazers here on the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Louie Rabeau, Mike Rennie, and of course our guy Barry Spears hanging out with you. We head to Churchill Downs. It is Chicago Stakes Day. A little bit of an announcement, not big, but we will be doing an extra hour of programming on Saturday ahead of the Stephen Foster. So here on our ESPN affiliate in Louisville, 680, 1057, 11 to noon on just like we did for Belmont, you get our Stephen Foster preview as well. Surprise guest for the middle of that show. How about that? A little tease. We call that a tease in the business, boys. How about that? So let's head over to Churchill Downs. I thought, by the way, I know both of you have looked. I thought this pick 6 was absolute smoldering fire. Like just a fantastic end of this card. Just tons of fun. There's class in here. I think there are prices in here. We're not going to go all the way through the pick 6 or anything like that. But I got a problem with one person in this pick 6, and I'm going to look at the camera and I'm going to talk to them directly. Steve Asmussen, if you're watching, I have a problem with you. You have a fine horse, and his name is Harlow Cap, and he just ran a huge race in a very interesting Pimlico special, and you have him entered in a turf race. I have a problem with you, Steve Asmussen. You put Harlow Cap back where he belongs. You understand me? He does not belong in a turf race at the end of a card after the Chicago Stakes at Churchill Downs. Be better. That's all I got. Okay, we're done. All right. Okay, well, let's get into this sequence here. Asmussen. There you go. The optional claimer that will start our little pick 3 talk here is race 6. Start of that pick 6. It is an optional claimer, 5.5 furlongs on that turf course for non-2 lifers, $80,000. If you are eligible for the claim, $134,000 purse, or as they call it in Ohio, 2 stakes races. And so what do we think about this race for 3 and up? Barry, out the door in here. A fun grass runner, but one that doesn't win all the time.
Yeah, that was so inconsistent and gets bet every time. And I have to continue that trend. It's just not a horse I can warm up to in any fashion because I just can't count on a horse like that. I think Counterstrike is probably going to be sitting the best trip and will be able to stalk and pounce, which seems to be like the best move on that turf course, especially going from the outside. A lot of those moves, a lot of the horses that are on the lead inside haven't been staying on. A lot of horses have been winning and closing down the middle. So I think Counterstrike will get a good run at it. But that's an interesting race all the way around, especially it could get kind of wide open. I kind of like the 1 a little bit if that horse can kind of get a good trip outside the 1 hole.
I think something people should know and notice, I should say, is that Jose Ortiz, his win percentage was not great when he had those first couple races when he got to Churchill. He's good now. He's figured it out. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's on Counterstrike on the outside. He's doing just fine. Mike, I love a price in here. Where did you end up landing here in this optional claimer?
Yeah, I got a price also. I feel like the pace is going to be scorching. Like it looks like it's setting up to be hot. With Rhythm and Nick off the claim with the makers in a go. The favorite will go the 6, and then Counterstrike will be sitting off it. But I think the pace will be so hot that I like the 3 Zombie here, just sitting chilly and just having that 1 run coming home. 2 races back, closed in there for third. Ran kind of a beat up race. The next one out here. It's just there's tags on these horses, so I don't trust any of them. Especially you see a tag on the favorite has a tag. So anytime I see that, I like to go take a shot. This looks like it sets up for it. Turf sprints too. I feel like a real good opportunity for a price. You know what I mean? Historically, this looks like it. And again, I'm afraid of if the 6 doesn't break. The 5 Maker off a claim, Landeros, those 2 are old school little combo on the turf. So I'm gonna do a price here with the 3 and the 5 I'll use, and then if I was to use a favorite, it'd be the 8 for sure. So 8, 3, 5, and the 8 are my top there.
Man, that's classic maker stuff to move that horse to the turf after running a bunch on the dirt too, right? Just kind of classic. Like he feels like he knows something with that. I agree with you. You mentioned that scorching pace. I think it's actually going to be set by the 2 Bushido here. And if he's got the legs on Saturday, man, I think it's not. I don't think he's going to be 15-1. I think you're going to get 20, 22, 25-1 on that horse. Marcelino Pedrosa, like I said, in these sprints, you can make mistakes and still be okay as long as your horse is just going. Just ran out of gas last time at 5.5 there. Farron Peterson on aboard 2 runs ago for this Son of First Samurai. Interested to see if this horse can run. Maybe third in the, we're third in the form sequence, in the form cycle here. So maybe that horse is ready to go. So the 2 here, Bushido, will be my long shot play. I do think Outdoor is the most talented horse here. I don't think that's really a question in my mind. Clear the Air is in here. Ran in that Belmont Festival. I always watch this when a guy like William Walden is willing to ship a horse and run them back so quickly. They very clearly think that they've got something. This horse is in good shape, whatever. Interested in that horse as well with Clear the Air, the 4. So should be a fun one. That's going to be just a mad dash of a race for sure.
And the 4 shown it didn't need the lead also. Looks like 3 back at 1 off the pace a little bit.
Yeah.
And then even 2 back that didn't really it ran well late. So yeah, 4 will be interesting. I wouldn't be shocked. You know what? I bet you the 4 goes off as the favorite. I think the 6 is a dud. I think the money's going to float off them. I think the sharp money will actually, off what you're saying and kind of looking back at the not needing the lead, I wouldn't be shocked the 4 actually goes off as a favorite. I feel like the 6 is just ready to move on. One of those things. Curious on the odds.
I hit the pick 5 at the Breeders' Cup last year, and it was because of Gerardo Corrales and no balls in that sprint. And so my man Gerardo can ride some horses. I'm not worried about Gerardo's ride here. It's whether Outdoor is actually going to get it done or not. 6-5 feels a little short in that field for sure. Head to race 7. It is the Chicago Stakes. Grade 3 here, $250,000 in the kitty, 7 furlongs starting in that mile shoot. That aforementioned mile shoot. Only 5 horses here, fillies and mares. Barry caught me a little off guard here that Society is the favorite over Vava just because she is coming off the layoff. Everyone's talking 2-horse race here. Do you agree with them?
Yeah. Those 2 are far superior than the others. But it just seems like it might be kind of a merry-go-round race where Society gets the lead, Vava sits off, tries to go by. If she goes by, she goes by. If not, they run 1-2. I don't really see anybody else. Maybe the 4, but that horse likes to break slowly a lot. Probably should be coming late. I would throw that one in if you want to do like a straight try or something like that.
Chi-Town Lady did run a really good race in that grade 1 Derby City Distaff that was on Derby Day. And so did run in the grade 1 there, finished behind the aforementioned Vava, who's back to run this race. Mike, I saw you agreed with those 2 horses. Who is your 3rd horse here? Is it Chi-Town Lady?
I think you almost, yeah. I mean, maybe the 5 with the Leparoux and Ian Wykes, another old school combo. Those 2 used to roll them up when Leparoux was younger. They think he could come flying, something underneath. Jose Santos Jr., the agent, has Leparoux riding better again, better mounts, I should say.
Totally agree with you. Yes.
So I would something underneath. Here's what's going to happen to me. Vave is gonna win because they have the best jockey in the world on him, in the nation. I'll go America. Ortiz Jr. is gonna get the lead, and he's gonna be dicey. What he does, he's gonna scare the 1 somehow because he has to get the lead. He can't let the 1 go. There's no one else. You know what I mean? So the only chance the 3 Vava had to win to me is Ortiz being Ortiz. Shake him up. He's he's so good. He's just so. Tyler's the best at overall, during the meet at Churchill. I know all that. Like, it's Tyler's show, right? It's Tyler's show right now. But for this race, and this horse is probably her best, Cherie DeVoe, who's hot right now, with some other horses. But yeah, so I think it's going to be the 2-horse race with the better jockey just kind of coming out on top here. I would single.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a single Vava. There you go. Get aggressive with the race. The thing about this that I mentioned with Bob today when he was on the show, something I always look for is which jockeys are shipping in for which trainers, like which trainers shipping someone in because they really want to make sure that they get the best possible ride. The interesting thing here is Irad's coming in and he doesn't have a lot of other mounts. Like he's really damn convinced that he's probably got a runner here. Do you think he stays with Jose while he's here, or does Jose say, you know what, man, why don't you go get a hotel room?
He's probably like, get your own thing.
I got a horse in that race too. You get the hell out of here. How about that? We got a couch, brother. You can sit on the couch. You'll be all right. You know, that kind of thing. But no, I'm with you. Shipping in. I told him the other thing I always watch for is like the maiden race after the big stakes race of the day. If a jockey sticks around for that race, I always pay attention to that. Man. That's an angle that I adore. So that's
or a jockey that takes a hard fall and rides back at the end of the card, and he's easily live. Even the full race 8 goes down, and he's on the 5-2 horse. The next race, he could, and it's like Rosario, a big,
got to pay for that ambulance ride,
right? He's like, I'm winning.
Those are not cheap for the independent contractors that are jockeys. The next race is my favorite race of the weekend. I'm not going to lie to anyone. It's a maiden special. This is the time of year to be watching some of these 3-year-olds that may turn into something else. But this is on the dirt course over there, mile and a 16th, $120,000 in the kitty here. Fillies and Mares 3 and up. I will talk to Brad Cox tomorrow at 11 o'clock on our show here in Louisville. He's got Queen of Paris in this race. Guys, I got to tell you, I have watched a lot of Churchill Downs and put a lot of money in the churn at Churchill Downs. And Queen of Paris smells like every freaking great Brad Cox second timer, stretching out, all the breeding, for a small outfit called Godolphin. You feel good for the little guy when they get a horse like this, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
tough out
I
there.
just got to feel so good for these Godolphin folks. She stands out to me in this field. Mike, does anyone stand out to you in this field?
I mean, I have her on top. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I'll talk about the 8 Murphy's Gift. Torres up there, improved on its third race here. Been improving, in the speed, and gets a little bit of a freshening. Should, be able to sit the trip. Maybe try something different and just gun it. I think, first race kind of done. Next race showed a little bit of speed. Hey, don't let Brad Cox, that Brad Cox's horse is going to be close to the lead. I'd be shocked if the 7, the 7's just going to improve. You can't really even see the numbers. You just know what the Brad Cox's horse generally do.
Gonna get better.
Not a ton of deep closers generally for his style. He does have some, but I expect the 7 to be closer to the lead than the first. So if the 8 gets the gun, Torres the hot jockey, Brendan Walsh hits at 21% off a 180-day layoff. So I'm 7-8 this race for me.
I love it. I think another horse in here, Barry, that's interesting at a longer price here is the 9 Sustancia. Coming out of the slop, is probably going to get a lot better conditions here on Saturday. Really hot here today, really hot yesterday. It should start to cool off, whatever that means. Cool off by Saturday, and so it'll be a little bit better. Where did you land in this one?
Yeah, this is one of those kind of races where, like you were saying, the Brad Cox horse, it looks like every other second time starter for him.
It's a problem,
in a good spot. The same thing with the 5, but I think this is the kind of race where somebody can kind of surprise them up front and sort of run them off their feet. And I'm hoping to get that with the 4 Joelma.
Okay.
McPeak stretching this horse out. I think this horse might have some run and got a good post position. I don't think any of the horses inside of her will be running early. And the one outside of her, the 5, definitely won't be running early. That horse doesn't want to be on the engine anywhere near it. Another horse that kind of caught my eye, and I thought you kind of alluded to this a few minutes ago, is Irad on the 10, Not Guilty.
Yep.
I think that horse stretching out is real interesting in this spot, and getting Irad, again for Cherie. Not riding too many. I thought that was where you were going with this one, but that one doesn't look too bad.
Well, I haven't really given all of my picks yet, but yes, no, I agree. The other one, if you want one that might get out front, stay out front. I actually think it's the 1 horse here, Penny Royal, second timer for Asmussen, and Ricardo Santana Jr. Here's the problem. Those 2 are 1 for their last 45 together at Churchill Downs. There is something not
Bad
right.
Karma.
That used to be easy money.
Yeah.
I mean, just easy money.
Those days?
Oh, 5-2. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, I missed
auto.
those days, man. That was just free money. But yeah, Penny Royal, can that be the filly that gets them off the schneid there, daughter of Curlin? for another one of these groups you have to feel good for. The Stone Street folks, never heard of them before, so really good for them to get a horse in a race like this. But I
don't have any big ones. Ever.
Yeah, none of them. But man, Queen of Paris just sticks out so much to me as just this is where they step. None of us have mentioned, by the way, the Bill Mott Tyler genetics in here. Mike, do you give genetics a shot?
Oh yeah, I mean you got Bill Mott. He's a little slower developer sometimes too, so it's always a wild card with him. He's like, you might think he's given up on a horse, and that's just kind of his style. Like big day, if it was a bigger race, but again, Mott might have just it's finally figured it out here. It's ran again, ran in plenty of the level won't be a problem. You know what I mean? It's definitely seen all these type of horses. So yeah, Tyler, and especially if Tyler's been cold a little bit before that, Tyler wins those later races. I've noticed too a lot. It's very interesting too. He wins a lot of the last couple races. So yeah, I expect that horse to definitely be around. And I think Mott, again, if that pace goes, maybe there's more pace than we're thinking. Mott could be picking up. That's his, he likes coming off it a little bit. So it could be rolling late. Like you said, there could be a talented horse in here too. We see down the road. This is a really, really good race.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'm really excited to see what comes out from this race too.
Do you like? I mentioned the other Ortiz, and by the way, our guy Steve pointing out that Iraq is riding a horse. Or Irad.
Whoa,
it corrected to that, of course. But Irad's riding a horse called Not Guilty. This is what I would say to you, Steve.
Uh-oh.
Paco Lopez isn't here. Everything's fine. You understand me? All right, that's what I would say. Okay, there you go. All right. So, do you like Sustancia here? I think actually that's a really interesting entry. Barry at 10-1.
Oof. I don't know.
Not for you, eh? Okay, that's all right.
No, probably not. Because I think she's going to get hooked, and that's not really where she wants to be. It's a tough trip. I'd like her better if she was, if her post position was a little further inside. I think she might. There's a chance she might get hung out.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, we have done our job for the day here on the Horse Racing Happy Hour. How will you attack Churchill on Saturday, guys? You playing race to race? We playing multis? What are we doing?
I'm more of a doubles pick 3 style is my kind of thing, and win bet. So yeah, that's gonna be looking at it. I'll run a pick 3 through there. Looks like a solid little sequence. So yeah, I like the doubles and pick 3s, man. It's just you can create some value with a good favorite, or take a stand and then have something behind it. Look the value in the doubles, especially. I just got a quick gripe. I mean, the odds dropping right now. It's just you're not getting your value anymore. It's like I had the race 1 at Gulfstream. I have the 3 8-1, and the gate wins at 7-2. The next race 21-1, and then wins at 7-1. So you're not getting that full win bet value. So at least, and if it's a big track like a Churchill Downs pool, I'd rather. It's almost I'm turning to dealing with that more than the win bets I used to do more, because you're not. It's just. I don't know what's going on. No clue what's going on.
Yeah, the track money's there, and then the late money comes in for sure. Barry, a Chicago Stakes with 5 horses. Will you build around that kind of race, or is that one where you go, there's just no value here?
No, there could be some value, like in the 5.5 furlong sprint on the turf. You might get a price. I think Rennie talked me into playing the 2 longest shots on the board through Society and seeing what we could do. That's the way you kind of have to approach those tickets. I really don't enjoy cashing tickets. I enjoy making money. So there's a difference, and just cashing a ticket, that's not for me. If I can't find enough value, I'm not going to play it.
We had Steve Kornacki on from NBC last week, and he essentially said the same thing. He's like, I'm totally fine hitting 15 to 17% as long as I'm hitting my pick 5s. Like, I'm good. Like, that's really his approach. And by the way, our boy Steve last week, I'm not going to tell you how much, but he punished Churchill Downs last week. He took everybody else's money. He took everybody else's money.
Nice.
That's our guy. That's our guy, Steve. So how about that? Yeah, I love it. Yeah. he texted me. He a little screenshot, and I was like, yeah, I wasn't that aggressive. That was great. That was fantastic. So there you go. Oh man. All right. Well, at Rennie time, he's Mike Rennie on Twitter. Go find him there. And of course, our guy, the urban handicapper, the sniper. His name is Barry Spears. We appreciate both of you guys jumping on. Again, I'll have Brad Cox again tomorrow on the show at 11 o'clock. We'll have the Bob Roberts interview. We'll have the Brad Cox interview up on this platform as well. If you're finding the show for the first time, you've hung through here, really appreciate you. Again, want to thank our friends who pay for everything we do. Manscaped, manscaped.com, promo code horse racing, get in there. Listen to Gandolfo. That's a man with a real beard. So if you need real beard help, they got all the great stuff over there as well. Guys, appreciate you very much, and let's catch up down the line.
Yep, thanks for having me on.
That's good. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys, very much. All right, Zach, get him out of here. Get him out of here. There we go. That's much better. Okay, Zach, you can jump on for sure. Look at my beautiful backyard. Look at this. Look at this beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Look at your landscape there. How delicious.
It is. This is actually where I am right now. I'm on the other side of this camera.
Let's lie to these people. Oh, man. So how was, by the way, Barry did wish you a happy birthday. We talked about your birthday last week. How was your Father's Day? Is Father's Day a big deal at the producer Zach house?
I mean, my partner makes it a big deal, but it's not, it's more like big deal in that it's like, what do you want to do with your day? It's yours. I'm not going to make you do anything.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah. How about you?
She's great. Father's Day is a 0 in this house. It doesn't even happen.
Yeah, you should have read. You're right on line with my Facebook joke, which was
great.
Yeah, where he's like,
he's awesome.
He's like, Halloween is 6, Father's Day is 20.
Arbor Day was like 17th or something.
Yeah, Arbor Day.
I don't even know what Arbor Day is. Yeah, it's a great joke. It's a great set of stand-up for sure.
Yes.
Man, there's another comedian in his vein. They're very similar guys, and he said he doesn't trust anyone that doesn't believe in conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And he said the reason was because the government has to take care of millions of people, and he's got one son, and he lies to that kid all the time.
All the time.
He's like, so you don't think the government lies to you at all? That kind of stuff. So, so there you go. But yeah, no, Father's Day, not a huge thing here. I did get to pick what we had for dinner. So there you go. How about that?
Yeah, I sort of got to pick. It was like, what do you want? And then our oldest was like, I want Subway. That'd be great. And I was like, I guess we're having Subway.
Subway. Oh no.
I mean, it was fine. I like Subway. I don't think I would have picked it. I actually probably would have picked what I had for dinner tonight, which was a steak and a spinach salad.
Yeah, that's way better. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you ain't getting that at Subway. That's right.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, but we actually started. I won't pub it because we're not sponsored by them. But we started this like,
well, not yet.
Co-op meat thing where we're getting meat deliveries every like month.
Yeah,
and so
those are great, man.
Yes,
yeah, I worked with one in here in Kentucky called Buckler Farms, and they only do lamb and pork, man, and it is, just the best pork I've ever had in my life.
This one does like Italian sausages, hot dogs, steak, like they're all over the place. So I've kind of been looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, good.
But it's been good.
So again, if you are anywhere in the area, cannot suggest enough. We'll be up there on Indiana Derby Day. Come up and see us. Cost you nothing to get in. Literally just get up there and check it out one time. Should be a lot of fun up there with Rachel and Tammy and Eric and all the people up there that take good care of us.
And I don't think we pub enough the fact that it's a casino too. So
you're right. If and you're like a straight up Vegas style casino, by the way.
Yes. If you're like, I can't do horse racing for 7 hours, great. Stay for the races you like. Go to the casino. It's amazing. Yep. Food is good.
They got
all
that
stuff.
Book. Yeah, the food is good for sure. And so lots of great spots up there. And you can bring your kids. They got like a jungle gym. They got all kinds of stuff.
Yes, they do. It's amazing.
Yeah, but they also have a really, by the way, on that first floor, very serious OTB. So if you want to watch races around the country, they've got that. If you want a club seat, you can pay for those upstairs. But yeah, it's just a cool spot. By the way, I thought about this today when I was talking to Rachel. Not only can you get in for free, they just hand you a free cigar that's freshly rolled at the Indiana Derby. Like, that's absurd, man. That's just absurd. So no, it's great. So if you can get up there, come hang out with Mike and me. I will be there on that Saturday for sure. And then, hey, I got to start planning because I just found out today we got a sponsor for the Haskell. So I'm going to the Haskell.
Whoop, whoop.
How about that? Never been.
Dude, it's going to be amazing.
I'm so excited. Dinnerman's up there. I had Dinnerman on last Friday, dude. I don't think you heard this.
How do you feel about your first 7 race here?
It's gonna be a lot, but it's gonna be fun. Sucks that Gandolfo can't go because I think it would be fun to get that beefy Italian man in New Jersey just to see if people like, do I know that guy? Like,
I know that guy.
Is that?
Are you from the horse racing guys? No, we're not.
No, they're gonna be like, hey, do you work at the pizza joint at the end of the block? Is that you? But no, I'm really excited about it. So I had dinner for Haskell Preview Day, right? Of course.
Right.
And I was like, hey, the United Nations, one of my favorite races. Can I be in the booth for the United Nations? He was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
He's like, oh, it's kind of a big race, Louie. No, we're not doing that. So there you go. It was pretty great. Oh man. So ironically, or incredibly, I should say, it's no irony about it. I've never met Matt Dinnerman in person, and instead of meeting him in California, I'm going to meet him in New Jersey of all things. Good Lord.
Yep.
Who'd have thunk it? So there you go. No, but excited about that. That'll be a good weekend for just in general. Monmouth looks incredible on TV, so I'm excited to do that. And maybe I get Johnny P to show up. We can get him out of the gold book for that weekend.
Oh my gosh, that'd be hilarious.
That'd be all right. So he's working up there at the Big M, so we'll have to see if he can get down for the day. But let's go ahead, let's play the music. We'll get out of here. Again, Stephen Foster Day. We'll have an 11 o'clock show. I'll be out there all day for that as well, so we'll be able to hang out with folks as they close up at Churchill. Reminder too, as we get into the summer, I do pick back up with the Kentucky Racing Spotlight shows presented by my friends at the Kentucky HBPA. So as we get into Ellis and to some of those summer racetracks around the country, Saratoga, different places, have a lot of previews for you on that show as well. But I'm Louie Rabeau at Radio Louie on Twitter. You can find this show at Horse Happy Hour. You can always email the show, by the way, horseracinghappyhour@gmail.com. If you have any questions, anything you'd like to cover, and slide into the DMs if you'd like to be like Mike Rennie and be on the show. I thought he was great tonight. Thanks to Barry as well, who was always awesome on the show. Appreciate the guys hanging out. For producer Zach, I'm Louie Rabeau. We'll talk to you next week here for the Stephen Foster. How about that on the Horse Racing Happy Hour?